So this is part of agroecology that we've been intimating as a mixed cropping system. You have plantains here, as you can see. You see cocoyams. Here, we put natural manure. It gets rotten. When it gets rotten, now we spread it to feed the plants and so on. So we recycle nutrients. Yeah. So we are ensuring also that poultry waste comes here to become organic manure. So you don't lose anything. It's better recycling of nutrients. So we have a zero waste system at the African Center for Community and Development.
I wanted to ask, how does mixed cropping reduce the farm greenhouse gas emission? First, what is greenhouse gas emission?
Greenhouse gases are simply carbon-based gases or carbon dioxide. It comes out from industries.
Okay.
Industries, they send out what they call chlorofluorocarbons. And these emissions, when they come to the atmosphere, they destroy the ozone layer. Then now ultraviolet rays from the sun starts coming down, and since we don't have the ozone layer, it comes directly and reaches the ground, reaches our bodies directly without any protective shield, and then it reaches the soil. When the soil is overcooked with direct ultraviolet rays and so on, other microorganisms cannot thrive in it. Then water quality also reduces. They become fallow and dry, and in that it becomes difficult to farm them. So farmers now start facing a lot of issues because of just those gases. They need now tilling. Maybe they spend, like women, they spend more time in the farm to till. They need machines to be able to develop their farms, which means it's difficult because now farming becomes intensive. And if farming is intensive and the poor farmers don't have the mechanisms to do it, it means poverty is going to be more rife and so on. So greenhouse gases are very common, and they are everywhere that you find industries and so on, and even some of the animals that we farm, like goats and cows, they produce greenhouse gases like methane is in their excreta. So if you don't have a way to recycle it, it might escape still in the atmosphere. It might degrade the environment. So sometimes that is why you see people have to take animal dung and to process it into manure, or to process it into biogas, which is used in many ways, or to organic fertilizer. So then we recycle now the nutrients, and these nutrients remain in the soil if we convert these gases into manure. So at that time, it's better recycling of nutrients. We don't have too much toxicity in the atmosphere, and we also still produce food. We reuse the resources rather than deplete the resources. I think that answers your question, does it?
It does. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is there any question?
So how long did the fish start producing? How long it take to start to produce?
Thank you. So it actually depends on the species. Generally, tilapia can get to sexual maturity at about 4 months. But it's going to depend on the kind of food or feed that you give them, the stocking density of the pond. If the pond is aerated, you see, most ponds, they need oxygen. Many people don't have aerators because it's also a factor of production. So sometimes the spawning or the breeding of tilapia is reduced because of the lack of such machines like aerators and so on, which can help breeding. So we will say 4 months they reach sexual maturity. It means they can reproduce. But then 6 months is a good time for them to be like table sizes that you can sell in the market if they're well fed. So like yesterday, we treated the fact that the food has to be good. The quality has to be good for you to achieve maximum results. Also, the stocking density. If you pack them too many in the ponds, they'll compete for food and maybe they will not get as big as you want. You know. Then for catfish, 5-6 months is a good time for them to be table sizes. Some people can overfeed them and they have results earlier than that, but it's sometimes advisable to follow things and their natural cycles. And then you probably can farm them in different generations so that you always have fish in your various ponds, rather than wanting to rapidly just send them into the market or you overfeed them, because at least that is also some form of stress to the animals that you farm. So in that right, you might also be abusing their rights in the course of doing it.
Another question again. So, apart of the feed to import and then all produce in Cameroon, so if you want them with a feed for a short time, what can the fish eat to keep them? For example, if you don't have money, you want to have money for now, there's no money for the 1 or 2 days, what can they eat again to keep them to survive?
Thank you. That is a very wonderful, very, very wonderful question. So there are so many things, and that is where innovation now lies in fish farming and all what we've been talking about. Fish feed depends on a lot of things. There are proteins in it, there are carbohydrates, and there are other things like calcium and so on. So we have these things that occur naturally. You know, much of fish feed, for instance, for small fish species like tilapia and so on, when they are very young, like fingerlings or fries, it's made up of crayfish. So it is important for us to start thinking about how do we farm crayfish in such a way that we can use some for human consumption and some for fisheries, or how do we make sure that we farm other insects that are good. For instance, we have farmed maggots here for fish farming at the African Center for Community and Development. So maggots are a good source of proteins, of essential fats and oils for fish. I think there's also pawpaw that has been used for both catfish and tilapia. They eat on it. We've also farmed duckweed as food. I will show you some ponds behind there that we can see a demonstration of duckweed there. And there are also other plant-based that can go for fish feed. And here we are also using intestines from poultry. We are recycling them because we are practicing a zero-waste facility here at the African Center for Community and Development. So catfish love poultry intestines. So it's a way to supplement their protein needs, and it's also helping us to save cost. And we think that it's going to be good for other people to learn that. There's also blood meals that can come from the slaughterhouse. There's a possibility of mixing that with fish feed, and also there's also the possibility of using calcium, burn calcium from bones or snail shells, and mix it up to have calcium that is necessary for strong bones and also for their growth and also for reproduction. So we have so many natural things that can be used. I also think that apart from maize, I see elephant grass as a potential biomass that we would try to develop in the circular economy, both for livestock and for fish. And I think with that potential, we will have a more cost-effective fishery sector in Cameroon and Africa. Okay, you have another question?
My next question was, how does mixed cropping becomes a solution to these climatic changes?
So it's something that can be inferred. We've already said that climate change is something that affects biodiversity. You understand? So when climate change happens, we generally get a situation of dryness because of the fact that we don't have regular rainfall. We don't have the patterns that plants are used to. Either there's too much sunshine. Yeah? So these things, they lead now to dryness. This dryness now, it affects production. Food cannot grow in soils that have degraded. So now you either need external inputs to make the soils fertile once more. So that's where chemicals come in. So some people choose chemical fertilizers and some people choose organic fertilizers. What we are doing with mixed cropping is a form of restituting a farm or where food grows without putting pressure on the land with too much chemicals or with limited or no chemicals. Because when you plant different crops on the land during mixed cropping, you will have now biodiversity because you can plant trees, you can plant tubers, you can plant vegetables. So different life forms bring different life forms on the land. For instance, predators or animals that eat on tubers will come to that land. Maybe you will have wild rodents like the mole rats, they come in there. You will have other insects that will come in to come and do pollination because of the fact that there are different plants there. So that when many plants thrive in one place, what happens? Our intention is to trap carbons, not so. So now climate change that has led to the depletion of the ozone layer, that has led to overheating and has led to so many things. The carbon is not being trapped along the line, With biodiversity, it's possible for you to trap these carbons. Carbons can be trapped in the roots. They can be recycled under the ground there in the form of like manure. That's what we are doing with cow dung and fowl dung under the soil. Because what manure does is that it transforms what would have come into the atmosphere from that cow dung into something that can be used by the plants and therefore not affect the atmosphere and don't affect us, and we still have food and we still have those microorganisms in the soil, and everything is still very okay for us to continuously have a healthy environment. You're welcome. So
the catfish, did they produce by themselves, or you have to do some other method for them to produce?
No, we do hatching. Yeah. So hatching, which I think we'll do another cycle of hatching maybe in December, so that we have, when we must have increased the number of ponds that we have here, we will do a cycle of hatching, and it's also going to be a training program for people.
Tilapia?
No, tilapia reproduces naturally.
Okay.
Yes. Can you use intestines, please? Show me. Yes, those are the entrails from a fowl. You can give it to them. Drop it.
I don't want to drop it. I want big one to come up. Who is courageous? Take it again. Look at it.
So, demonstration of sustainable fisheries at the African Center of Community and Development. Thank you for watching.